Hey YouTube, it's Bobi, aka Paginator, and I have a book review for you. I have been reading Rated by Melissa Gray as another read from Scholastic in my position as a Scholastic insider. And this is the second book I've read from them. It was quite intriguing, I must say. So Rated takes place in a town where we basically are understood that the whole world has kind of adopted this rating system, or at least it seems that way because they talk about rating systems in England and in other places, so we assume that kind of everyone has this system, but we are focused specifically in one high school where the founder of the rating system that everyone lives by happens to come from, or lived when he was alive. You know what I'm saying. They live in the town where the founder's from. So, how this works is each person has a rating, and we get the idea that it's on a 1 to 100 scale, with 90 being very, very difficult to achieve. We have 6 different characters that tell the story here. They're all high school students, and we learn their scores at the beginning of every chapter that they narrate, and their scores do fluctuate throughout the story, so that's interesting to see their scores going up and down depending on what they're doing. Things can be rated with anything from social interactions to attending class to achieving well in sports and academics, etc. And we have 6 different kids in very different situations that are kind of brought together in a weird way. So let's start at the very beginning because, as we know, it is a very good place to start. An incident of vandalism has occurred, and someone has spray painted across the front doors on the first day of school. The scores aren't real. Of course, immediately the graffiti is cleaned up and gotten rid of, and an investigation is launched to see who's done it. And we start hearing from these different characters. Now, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about the 6 of these kiddos. We have Bex, who is the golden girl. She's the future valedictorian. She has cracked 90. Her score at the beginning of the book, I believe, is a 92, and she just does everything. She's in every club. She's in every service project. She's a peer tutor. She's in student council. She's on the yearbook staff. All of these things that she has done. She's not super into sports. She's tried bowling as a sport to get it, on her college applications, of course. But she's very, very intensely into doing well at everything. And of course we know that kids who are put under that kind of stress often tend to crack and act out in some way. The next character that we have is Noah. He is a photographer, and he's kind of that kid that's happy not being seen, but also really happy when someone does see him. We get the idea that when he says he's happy to be invisible, it's something he tells himself to help himself be okay. Noah has a really hard situation in life. His sister has leukemia and is in desperate need of a bone marrow transplant, and his parents won't let him be tested to see if he can be a donor. And his sister's kind of his whole world. At the beginning of this book, he doesn't really have any other friends, and we just see him really struggling to find his place in the world and to see if he can help his sister in some way. Next we have Tamsin. She is sometimes called a witch or a goth or different kinds of names, weirdo, whatever, because she hangs out in the old music building that doesn't get used for classes anymore, and sometimes she reads people's tarot cards. And she likes to mess with people she doesn't like. For example, the super popular girl Summer comes to Tamsin for a tarot reading, and Tamsin strongly suggests that Summer might be betrayed by a boy in the future, which of course is going to be upsetting to Summer. But Tamsin, her parents run this healing shop with, they probably have crystals and funky things, herbs and different things there. And so Tamsin's kind of been brought into this naturalist kind of way of viewing the world, but she's also very suspicious of the rating system because she feels like she's about to drop below the acceptable rating to stay at this school. Next we have Hannah, who is an ice skater, competitive ice skater. Her parents were competitive equestrians, which means horse riders, and her mother competed in the Olympics and probably will still continue to do so in that event. And Hannah has chosen ice skating, and we get the idea that she chose ice skating because it was not horse riding and wanted to do something other than that because that's what her mother does. But Hannah pushes herself way too hard to be the ideal body type to compete in her sport. So she's got some personal issues going on with that. Then we have Chase Donovan, who is the pitcher of the school baseball team, who's also academically struggling and needs a tutor. Enter Bex, the first character that I mentioned, the golden girl. And then we have Javi. He is the gamer. He is an esports athlete, I guess would be the correct phrase. He has sponsors and he gets paid. He brings in money. His parents have passed away, so he lives with his abuela, or his grandmother, and siblings, and is constantly trying to bring in money for the household through his gaming. All 6 of these characters get a strange message with a Joker, either sticker or drawn Joker face that goes with this strange coded message, and they end up kind of pairing up and then eventually all come together to try to figure out what is going on, what happens with who put the graffiti on the outside of the school. There is another incident of vandalism later in the book against the statue of the founder of this rating system, and there are questionable activities, as in possibly illegal things that the kids get caught up in. But it's all kind of working towards something that we find out at the end of the book. And I don't want to spoil what that is, but I will say it is not what I expected. I was a little bit actually thrown by that because this is hard to explain without telling you what happens, but how do I say this? I guess I'll say that the ending or the last couple of chapters where it takes us is completely opposite of what I thought it was going to be. I also will say that I fully expect there to be a sequel to this book because I really, really want to know what is going to happen to these characters. I formed emotional bonds with some of them, not all 6. I'm still not there with Tamsin. I'm just not, I haven't got her vibe yet, but the other 5 of these teenagers, like, there's little tugs at my heartstrings for each one of them. So I definitely want to find out what happens to them in the future. I will also say there is queer representation in this book. 2 of the male characters end up fancying each other. There wasn't anything that I thought was inappropriate, though there were a couple of kissing scenes between various different characters, but there wasn't any harsh language or like sexual content. I think it was just a very appropriate story, and I feel like I will suggest this for my 7th and 8th graders as well as older readers who would think they would like to enjoy this mysterious kind of story. It's kind of a twist between a dystopian and a mystery story because we definitely have the mystery going on of who committed these acts of vandalism, but also this society that is just accepted that everyone has a numbered value and that quantifies who they are. That's a very dystopian thing to kind of do. So I'm very curious to see where this goes. Melissa Gray, if you're out there, please help write a second book because I want to know what happens, especially with Noah's sister, and I want to know if she's okay. So I guess that concludes my thoughts on Rated by Melissa Gray. I will say I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, and I feel like overall the atmosphere, the characters were really well done. The plot was really interesting. The logic of it threw me a little bit just because of the ending. I'm like, I don't know about that, but it was still within my 4-star range, when it came to giving this book a rating. So I would definitely recommend it to anyone who thinks they might be interested, or if you're just looking for a quick read, because it's only 320 pages and it's very easy, flows nicely, and I think it's just something that a lot of people would enjoy. So that being said, it's time for me to sign off because I have got homework to do. Anyway, have a wonderful and bookish day. Happy reading. Adios.